Coming up on State of Events, California is moving to Phase 2.
And a sexual assault controversy that involves one of the presidential candidates.
State of Events starts now. Welcome to State of Events. I'm Natasha Casino.
And I'm Madison Macay. Let's get down to our top stories of this week.
Gavin Newsom announces that California will enter Phase 2 of the state's reopening this Friday. The governor announces during his Monday press briefing that businesses such as manufacturers and retailers will be able to open just as long as they function under strict social distancing guidelines. San Francisco Mayor London Breed acknowledges Newsom's update, but made it clear that the city is focusing on how successful essential businesses are with the current social distancing orders, and will use that information to determine if the city is even ready to enter Phase 2.
Certain parts of California have been testing Governor Newsom's shelter-in-place order, flooding beaches, parks, and protesting in large groups. While Governor Newsom has promised a cautious, phased reopening of the state, protesters don't want to wait. In Huntington Beach, an estimated 2,500 to 3,000 people gathered for May Day, and in Sacramento, protesters waved signs that said "Defend the Freedom" and broke into USA chants.
2 homeless women have taken over a vacant home in the Castro district of San Francisco, all a part of the historical May Day. On May 1st, protesters from the group Reclaim SF demanded the city provide housing for homeless residents during the COVID-19 pandemic. Officers arriving at the scene made at least one arrest. The group is calling on Mayor London Breed to use vacant housing units to shelter the homeless. According to activists, the Castro home, located on 19th Street, is an investment property and has been vacant for years. In the East Bay, a physical therapist aide at Stanford Healthcare is still required to work at the hospital during the COVID-19 pandemic. Sophia Silver reports.
For almost 2 months now, healthcare professionals have become the frontliners in the battle of coronavirus. But what about those healthcare professionals who aren't nurses and doctors that still have to come to work? Marissa Perry is a physical therapist aide at Stanford Healthcare in the East Bay, and work has changed quite a bit since COVID-19 began.
In order for us to even enter the hospital, we have to be screened. And they take our temperature, they ask us if we've traveled out of the country, if we have any of the symptoms of COVID, and then they clear you and they let you in. And if you answer yes to any of those questions, they will not let you go to work and they won't let you enter the hospital.
There is no testing center for COVID-19 at this hospital, but that doesn't mean precautions are taken lightly.
So we can have patients for a few weeks or we can have them for a few months. It totally depends on how far they progress in the time that they're staying with us. We can't have visitors, so they can't see their family. So we provide them, with an iPad so they can FaceTime their family. They can have phone calls. Their family can drop off food for them, but they can't enter the hospital. So it's just a general, they're just upset that they can't have that quality time with their family.
At the moment, supplies are slim, but Marissa and her coworkers are doing what they can in order to preserve what they have.
We have to wear the same mask all day, and it doesn't suck, but it kind of does at the same time, because if some patients are isolation patients, which means you have to take the mask off when you come out of their room and get a new one. So it's like the fear of, I feel like I'm wasting a mask if I have to keep putting a different one on.
Due to an overwhelming amount of donations, Stanford Healthcare have actually closed down their donation centers, but online you can still find what they need.
In Castro Valley, I'm Sophia Silver, State of Events.
Former Vice President and current Democratic-elect Joe Biden has finally broken his silence on a potential sexual assault allegation. The allegation dates back all the way to 1993. Biden says it, quote, never ever happened. I don't know what is motivating her, but it never happened, period. Tara Reade was an aide in Biden's Senate office in the early 90s. Reade is one of multiple women who stated publicly last year that they experienced uncomfortable physical interactions with Biden. However, none of the women, including Reade, who claimed she was assaulted in a corridor somewhere on Capitol Hill, never accused the former vice president of assault. Instead, Bede says she complained to multiple colleagues in Biden's Senate about harassment, but not the assault.
USCIS courts and offices remain closed during the shelter-in-place order. So how are attorneys and clients dealing with the closures? Our State of Events reporter Juan Lopez has more on the story.
I was curious to know how this had affected the way that an immigration attorney is able to move through their caseload.
I am the lead in the immigration project at Legal Services for Children. Basically, before the pandemic, it was already very, very difficult to move forward in cases. And then with the pandemic, it's made it so much harder. So things like, for some types of cases, we need to get a medical exam done for a client to submit for when they're applying for permanent residency. And it's really hard right now to get those done. But then also just even getting documents from clients, getting signatures from clients, reviewing very complicated forms with clients. And so everything's moved much slower. And we've had to adapt in doing things in a way that we don't necessarily like, but we need to do in order to continue with the work.
Even though apps like Zoom have created bridge contact between the client and the attorney, not being able to meet them physically has created some distance.
These are very difficult conversations that we have with them where people have to share very traumatic, painful memories, sometimes things that they're going through actively now. Obviously, it's much better to do it in person when you can see the person's face and there you can build more trust and rapport. And it's much more difficult to do it over the phone, especially if it's a new client too, right?
The immigrant community faces a disproportional set of challenges. So, what would be a good solution to set things balanced? This attorney had more than a few suggestions.
Well, one thing is just thinking as an immigration lawyer is that enforcement needs to stop. Absolutely stop. They need to release people from detention. Immigration court for detained children needs to stop. The other thing too is that it's really shameful, but the immigration service as well as immigration court, they make announcements that affect people, immigrants. They make announcements via Twitter and on their website, which is not accessible at all to folks. And so that's always been a big concern, and especially now because they're making really important announcements that it's not getting out to the immigrant community unless advocates are sending it out, right? But the government should be doing this. They need to really focus on processing the cases that are pending, just get those approved quickly. And then beyond that, like, I think that this is such an extreme situation that we're in, that we're going to be in for a long time. And I think just because of in honoring and respecting people, like humanity, but in addition to that, if you need to make the economic argument versus, like basically like the food that's being grown and harvested is by immigrants. The people who are cleaning up in the hospital, many of them are immigrants. The people who are working in the supermarkets, like a lot of like what's called like the services that are needed right now are being done by immigrant, and many of them undocumented, but some of them are not undocumented. And I think that it would be really, really, really smart to be able to offer some sort of a special visa for these folks, right? Or to expedite their applications for residency or U visa or whatever else they have pending, them on a pathway to citizenship. Not just like a temporary 2-year thing, but just like in recognition that these people are putting their lives on the line in support for the whole country.
In San Francisco, Juan Lopez, State of Events.
North and South Korea were exchanging gunfire at the DMZ border. South Korea's military says soldiers from the north shot first. The South Koreans say they shot 2 rounds back and even issued a warning broadcast. It's unclear what provoked the gunshots. However, earlier this week, North Korean state media aired a video of leader Kim Jong-un marking his first appearance in nearly 20 days. Next on State of Events, find out what foods can fight the coronavirus.
And how high school students are dealing with their school closures.
We come to the Y because it offers the tools for my child to grow, both physically and mentally. He grows alongside a community to prepare for the future.
But he's not the only one.
Come grow with the Y.
The San Francisco Board of Education has now approved a new grading policy for students grades 6th through 12th and is helping provide essential resources for students in the community. Reporter Eduardo Wijon talks with Jenny Lam, Mayor London Breed's Education Policy Advisor, in further detail.
As San Francisco continues to shelter in place, Jenny Lam, Mayor London Breed's Education Policy Advisor, sits down with State of Events and tells us what influenced the new grading policy for the San Francisco Unified School District, as well as the many resources being provided here in the city. As the Education Policy Advisor for Mayor London Breed, what are your day-to-day actions like now?
You know, the work for the COVID response has really been grounded in ensuring that the mayor's office, my role as education advisor, is being connected to community and being able to respond, because, you know, it's so critical that the city is there. We hold the responsibility ensuring that our children, our families, our residents are taken care of. And so that either means, you know, my partnership with the school district, connecting the schools to our city agencies, to the city at large, as well as being able to work with our city agency leaders. So, for example, the Department of Children, Youth, and their Families, Parks and Recreation, to the Libraries Agency, and Office of Early Care and Education. So that's an example. And, you know, through this work of COVID response, you know, the mayor has led a couple initiatives, including launching, for example, emergency childcare centers that have been held in our Parks and Recreation centers for essential workers. And that was critical because we knew that in order for our essential workers, you know, healthcare workers to be taken care of, that their children and their families need to be taken care of. So I'm really proud of that work and our city agency leaders coming together so quickly and having that available right, you know, soon after shelter in place occurred. The other leadership the mayor has taken is about addressing the digital divide, particularly with now schools being closed. So we were able to connect city resources to the school district and really building and understanding the quilt of what's necessary for addressing the digital divide, either it be, you know, distribution of laptops and Chromebooks to addressing Wi-Fi access. So that's, you know, students in low-income neighborhoods who don't have access does be able to continue their remote learning.
What influenced the approval to create the new grading policy for the rest of the school year?
First and foremost, we as a school district are putting our students and families at the center, that this is during a time of pandemic. It is unprecedented time, it is a stressful time, and that we want to ensure that our students are being taken care of and that they feel safe and healthy. That's why we had made the difficult decision to close schools, but that was, again, holding the health and well-being of our students first, and our workers, our teachers and our educators. So we had to do many basic response before we even launched it into distance learning. This is an experience that none of our students have been prepared for. Many of our teachers and educators have also had to quickly adapt and iterate and what that teaching and learning looks like. And so for us to land on a pass not pass policy was first and foremost that our students are held harmless, that they will not be penalized during this pandemic. And there was actually a public testimony of a high school teacher who said the pandemic was brought upon our students, that this is something that no one has asked for, right? Or really prepared to really handle. And so in this way. So we also, for me as a school board member, it was not only about leading with the value of holding our students harmless, supporting our students that they continue to learn and engage in their learning. Schools may be closed, but learning continues. And also that it was critical that we met the Cal State University and UC graduating requirements, so that no matter what grade the child or student is in, even for graduating seniors, but even a high schooler, to know that this spring semester was going to qualify it and meet those requirements of CSU. Because for me, every student should have the access to higher education.
In San Francisco, I'm Eduardo Wijon, State of Events.
Meal to Heal is one organization that is feeding healthcare workers on the front line, while helping restaurants stay in business during the COVID-19 crisis. The organization is all about providing meals to those who are risking their lives on the front lines, while also giving business and reviving local restaurants. They are teaming up with several restaurants and communities throughout the Bay Area to send meals to local hospitals. Giorgio's Pizzeria was the first participating restaurant, as they delivered 65 meals to Kaiser Permanente on Geary.
High school seniors are trying to adapt to school closures and deal with tough choices regarding college admissions and even graduation. In this interview, reporter Leslie Santibanez gets a high school senior's point of view.
No prom, no graduation, and the college selection process has been disrupted. For the John W. North class of 2020, the events many before them have been canceled due to COVID-19.
Being a high school senior right now, I don't really care that much because, I just gave up because the school, they say they care about us, but they're just choosing the easiest option with graduation, prom, and all of the senior activities we do.
Graduation has been a disappointment for Ashley and the rest of her classmates. The school had students pick up their cap and gowns by car and gave students a yard sign. Graduation will be held over Zoom, but students won't actually be able to participate.
Our district decided that we were going to be having a graduation ceremony online. On May 30th, they said that we can't be live during that graduation ceremony. We're going to have to take a picture in our cap and gown, and we could decorate it however we want. We basically get to take a photo, put it on an online graduation, and hear our principal talk about how coronavirus impacted us. And honestly, I think that's just a horrible idea.
Once it is safe to hold a ceremony, the school will have a gathering for the students. But for Ashley, this doesn't make up for her loss.
I feel like it'll just be depressing, honestly, because we didn't get a prom, we didn't get a grad night, we didn't get a graduation, but we're all gonna meet up and just hear about how coronavirus impacted us in our senior year.
Many of our friends don't know what they will do if the first semester of college is online.
The coronavirus, when it hit, and when we were in quarantine, they weren't allowed to visit the colleges they wanted to apply for. They're going to be paying a lot more money and to take online classes, when I feel like they should get that experience in person.
But for now, she will go to Riverside City College as it is a more secure path to take.
Anxiety is at an all-time high. And while junk food might be the easiest choice when sheltered in place, doesn't mean it's the best choice. Sugary, salty, and fatty foods can almost immediately ease our stress, especially during these tough times. But it can also cause more fatigue, inflammation, and sugar crashes. Here are 5 mood-boosting foods: eggs, salmon, spinach, almonds, and berries. And although it isn't always easy to pick the healthier option, these 5 foods will not just help your overall mood, but your health as well. An Alabama man by the name of Richard McGuire was found camping out on Walt Disney World's abandoned Discovery Island. Discovery Island has been closed for 21 years, and it is unknown how McGuire gained access. McGuire told police that he was unaware he was trespassing, and called the island a tropical paradise. He was charged with 1 misdemeanor count of trespassing.
State of Events reporter Jennifer Rios shares with us how San Francisco State is coming together to offer some students with relief funds amid the coronavirus pandemic, as well as the additional relief efforts instituted by the government to assist them even after they graduate. Jennifer?
Emergency grant funds are now available to students facing financial hardship during the coronavirus pandemic, and this is all under the CARES Act, which has just been extended to the Cal State University systems, one of them being our very own San Francisco State. Students across CSU campuses over the weekend may have seen an email from their school administration saying they're recipients of an emergency grant. Others have seen these funds go straight into their accounts. This is no mistake, as the CARES program is providing relief for those under financial hardship due to the coronavirus pandemic. Some students say this couldn't have come at a better time.
It's a really unique situation right now, and there's even students at school that are homeless. So I feel like it could really help them out.
For some students, they say these funds will be much needed in the near future.
Having that, the care money, I think it's more for a savings account right now, because I still have a stable job, and I think I want to use it towards my loans. That's when I really need to.
President Trump signed under the CARES Act, student loan payments will be suspended until September 30th of this year. These relief efforts will apply to all San Francisco State students. Now, though not all students receive funds up until now, some are still expected to receive checks, if not direct deposit, in the coming weeks. Now, for those students who did not receive the email nor qualify for funds at this time, can still register for additional funds if they're facing financial hardship amid the coronavirus pandemic. Further information can be found on our website, stateofevents.net. For now, reporting from home, Jennifer Rios, State of Events.
Coming up on State of Events, LA temperatures rise, and so does the number of people at the beaches.
And a special celebration despite COVID-19.
When it's time to choose healthcare for your teen, you want the best. When it's time for your teen's questions to be answered, you want a professional you can trust. At Valencia Health Services, your time is well spent. We provide professional, quality healthcare. Valencia Health Services, dedicating quality time to professional healthcare because your teen's health is our first priority. Valencia Health Services. Quality time because we care.
The Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels flew over Washington, Baltimore, and Atlanta on Saturday to salute medical officials working tirelessly to fight the coronavirus. Hundreds gathered at the National Mall to watch the air show. At a hospital in Maryland, staffers went outside to enjoy their show during their lunch break.
As coronavirus cases increase in the U.S., Los Angeles is making an effort to halt the spread of the virus by closing beaches. State of Events reporter Bronte Saratsky talked to some LA surfers who prove that if they can stay away from the beach, so can you.
This is what Los Angeles beaches look like practically year-round. Huge groups of people trying to enjoy the sunshine with family, surfers catching the best waves, and people just enjoying themselves. But because of the COVID-19 pandemic, beaches now look more like this. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti has closed LA beaches for the time being in the hopes of halting the spread of the virus.
In order to see how people in LA were feeling about the beach closures, I talked to those who love the water more than anything. LA surfers.
I've continually surfed for about 40 years.
Steven Saratsky is a longtime lover of surfing, but despite his fondness of the activity, he does not condone heading to the beach at the moment.
Surfing is very important, but not as important as my family or my business or my health. But surfing is certainly up there as one of the most important things in my life. Yes, it's something I enjoy doing and think about it a lot. Apparently social distancing and staying inside is really the only way of minimizing or curing the problem. And so as long as that's the only solution for staying safe, I have to agree with that, of course.
Larry Price, another longtime surfer, urges beachgoers to really weigh the pros and cons.
Really look into your soul and think about it. You know, if by not going in the water, you can save somebody's life or even your own, you know, it's a very little thing to give up as far as I'm concerned. And I think a lot of, you know, people that I've talked to feel pretty much the same. I mean, we're not happy about it, but the sooner that we can, you know, kind of cut this thing down, the sooner things will start going back to normal and we will be able to go in the water. To all jump in the water now and for it to you know, not flatten that curve or whatever, it's going to seem like such a waste. Is it really that important that you have to go surf?
If you want to do it, you're going to do it, but you'd be best served if you stayed home.
As much as these guys love the water, they value their health and well-being a lot more. In San Francisco, Bronte Saratsky, State of Events.
Some of the world's most famous art galleries and museums are now set to open sometime next week. The Eiffel Tower, for instance, was covered in lights on the last day of the global Hero Shine Bright event.
The Academy Awards are breaking the rules for the 2021 Oscars, as movies that debuted on a streaming service without a theatrical run will be eligible for the Oscars. This change is in response to how COVID-19 has impacted the film industry. The coronavirus has been ruining tons of events lately, but Teresa Conley's 100th birthday isn't one of them. Conley, who served in World War II, had a very memorable and special celebration this year, as 5 generations of family and friends gave her their drive-by affection. She was also greeted by firefighters, police, and veterans on Harley-Davidson motorcycles. In total, the celebration lasted about 10 minutes. And that's all we have for today's episode of State of Events.
To stay updated on all of the stories we're working on, be sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts.
And our website at stateofevents.net. I'm Natasha Casino.
And I'm Madison Macay. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week.